All right, we're going to get started here with the webinar Density for Physical Security. And today we're going to talk a little about who we are here at Density. I'm going to introduce myself and our company. Then we're going to talk about a key security issue, which is tailgating. And we're going to spend the majority of our time today talking about this specific vulnerability for physical security. And then we're going to talk about, at the end, kind of what you can do with this type of technology with other security issues and take your questions. So on that note, you should see at the top or the bottom of your screen a Q&A folder. So please feel free as I'm talking to leave a question. And at the end, we'll then take your questions. And we're trying to be helpful to you. So we really encourage you to list as many questions as you would like. And you can do so either anonymously or not. I'm the Director of Market Research here at Density. And I'm really excited to share with you guys about our technology and how we help with physical security. So as a token of our appreciation, we're going to be giving out $25 Amazon gift cards. And here is the eligibility. You have to provide a valid work email and attend this webinar, and then we will do that as a thank you. So a little bit about us, Density. Our main focus is to improve the efficiency, safety, and performance of buildings and real estate. And so what we do is we have a technology, which I'll talk about in a moment, that allows us to really understand and monitor how different spaces are used so that we can drive those results. Our track record, we have a team that's really exciting, a background from NASA, Genentech, Microsoft, Apple. We all came together to really try and think about what is this way of bridging the gap between what's happening in all the world of digital, and how can we actually apply it to making physical space smarter and safer and a better place. And so what we've done is we've built over the past few years, half a decade, we've been building this sensor network. We have a people counting sensor, and that is the framework for a lot of this technology that I'm going to be talking about. And what this actually is it's a doorway mounted sensor, and it's constantly scanning in real time for every entrance and exit into wherever it's installed above that entryway. So this is going to be kind of the basis for some of the things I'll talk about in a moment. But what you should know is it's not a camera, and it's designed for large deployments, and it can accurately and in real time count how many people are entering and exiting. And we'll talk about why this is important for tailgating and other physical security problems. Some of our customers at a snapshot, we work with very large Fortune 500 companies. What they all have in common is that they have very large real estate footprints. And so they're using us across different use cases, from physical security being one of them. And once you have that, you can also employ and get everyone on team, from the facilities, from workplace, or whatever corporate real estate or commercial real estate, can use this type of data to help make a building more secure. So we'll talk about that. And we have a lot of different adoption across industries. So really excited and excited to share with you. So I'm going to start off with one of the most common problems with physical security. So physical security has a tailgating problem. And by tailgating, or it's called piggybacking, it's when someone is opening the door and someone is able to kind of an unwanted visitor or unauthorized access after someone badges in. So what this means is that, in effect, about 5 out of 10 entrances are not secure, are not actually utilizing the whole purpose of an access control system, meaning someone is being able to sneak in after them. And so it's a huge problem in physical security. And it's going to be the focus of our conversation today, because if you can't control who comes in and out of your building, then you have some really major security concerns. The other reason why we're going to talk about it today is because it's actually something that hasn't been able to be solved. So we're going to talk about this problem as one of the main problems in physical security, and then we'll talk about how we actually make this happen. So let's kind of look at the top level ways that we think about this problem in the value props. So when we think about this problem of tailgating, here are the things that you need to be able to do and the ways that we solve this. And so for physical security, you need to be able to respond immediately when there's a threat. And that's been a real problem, because that means you need some sort of a real-time solution to know when is this type of event occurring. The other thing you need to do is you need to be able to actually be able to stop to respond fast enough to actually know, is there a tailgating event or is my physical security being compromised? So that's another part here. And then what's really great, and then we'll talk about this towards the end, but once you actually know, is my access control, are my buildings secure, my floors secure, because we know that there's actually that amount of people coming in and leaving, then you can actually know, also you can know where people are in the case of emergency. And you can also unlock a whole other set of security use cases. So that's going to be a framework for today, but let's get into this. So something to know about our technology and our approach and why we think this is so important for security is that what we're doing is we're actually, with these sensors that are installed above a doorway, it's constantly scanning and it's trying to detect human versus a non-human object. So even when people walk in with groups, there's so much actually on the device. There's onboard deep learning. You may have heard the buzzwords of AI, machine learning. What this is meaning is that it's actually looking for human versus non-human objects. So carts, bags, strollers, bicycles, all of trash bins, those are all not going to trick the sensor, which has been a really big problem. So what I've framed here is that there's a problem of tailgating. In order to solve it, you need to know, actually, are there humans entering and exiting the space? And you need to do so in a way that's both real-time and accurate. So let's look at how we actually solve this here. So as you can see, someone is badging in, and there's one human entrance. And then on the right, you see someone just tailgated in. So tailgating is detection. And then there's a slew of different options that could happen. So there can be a secondary lockout, meaning the secondary door after this was then locked, security's dispatched, and the actual tailgating subject has been identified. So what's really cool about this is, the reason why I wanted to jump right to this is, within a matter of seconds, you're able to have, you see that density device above a doorway. So when someone enters, after the other person enters, it's able to detect in real time, and then you can customize all of the different ways that you want to respond. So what we found is that there's a clear trend towards security teams that want to tailor how they're responding, and they want to have this type of data and then respond accordingly. So we worked with some of the largest, very large corporate real estate teams who, when they have this problem, for example, they can solve that. So I want to make sure that we kind of all are on the same page here and understanding what's happening. As someone enters, someone tailgates behind them without their knowledge. And then that all on the back end, it's integrated into the actual access control system, so that when one person badges in, there's a timestamp associated with that. And then when one person sneaks in after, then the API, the density platform knows, okay, well, there's been one badge swipe, but there's been two entrances. What should be the response? And then that can go into a series of customized workflows. So this is a really cool video. We shot at one of our customer locations, and that's me tailgating in. But not all the time will you be as lucky to have me tailgate into your buildings. There's a real threat of the unwanted visitors. So let's talk a little about when this can be kind of put into motion and what are the type of analytics you can get. So you can see, okay, well, we see that there is tailgating on these outdoor kind of locations, and you can see where tailgating is occurring and how it's occurring over time. So this is just an example, an illustration there. Now we're going to talk about kind of, an example of how I actually just mapped that out. Here's a little bit of a breakdown of what that means. What's happening is that there's the DPU device, which I mentioned, above the door. It's connected to an access control, and we integrate with leading access control systems. So we everything from Linnell, a Vigilon, a Brevo, whatever your access control system, you should let us know, because we're rolling out more and more all the time, and we are now integrated with the leading access control systems. OpenPath as well. I can mention some more, but please feel free to, in the comments, tell us what you're using, and I can see how we can integrate with that, and if we already are. And then there's some sort of an alarm or a customized alert, and then a way to actually keep track over time of when this happened. So that's kind of the basis of one of the biggest tailgating problems, and I'll talk a little bit more about the technology underlying it. So one of the questions that we get asked is, well, aren't cameras, there's already cameras for security. Why can't they solve something like this? Well, our solution is actually doing something like I showed you before when people were walking up, down. It's actually using a depth. So it's able to actually, in real time, look for what a human signature is in terms of almost like a topographical map or a contour. And it can say, okay, well, that's a human, and be able to, in real time, meaning less than 1 second, we're at a less than 700 milliseconds. Okay, how many people are entering and exiting? And that allows it to be scaled and connected in that way. So here's some of the other kind of ways to break down. You install the device, then you can integrate with a leading access control system, as I mentioned, and then you can see over time and in real time. So that's how it works, overview, a high level. And the thing that's really cool is that, again, I said there's all this buzzwords around machine learning and AI, but what this is allowing us to do also is we can actually understand the accuracy and improve that over time and give you a report of the accuracy device by device. And what's really great about this is that the reason why these type of security systems haven't been solved is because of false alarms. Because if you don't trust that you're actually being able to detect when this happens, and it's not being tripped up by, let's say, a backpack or a cart, then you're going to stop listening. And that's really the problem with these type of security solutions. So let's look at kind of where we would start, where would be a good solution for this type of technology. So you would look for secondary doors, unmanned entrances, maybe doors that can be tricked up with bikes and carts. And I'm in the Bay Area. We have a lot of problems of people commuting with bikes and that tricking up traditional sensors. So that's something where we would be a great fit. And we can also be installed in wider doors, 8 foot wide or narrower, double doors. And then entrances that kind of, there are some doors that not all are a good fit. So it would be just a matter of the ones that I mentioned, and being able to roll out in that way. So here's just to get started here. Like, here is how to think about a tailgating assessment. We're actually doing this very special thing with the end of the year, where if you want to try this out, we would be able to kind of get it set up, and you could see, okay, how accurate is this? The reporting, does this suit my needs? And also, please let us know the access control systems, because it's really exciting that we can integrate this type of technology into existing access control systems. So this is a no-cost 30-day tailgating assessment that we're rolling out, and we already have people on this webinar, it looks like, who have said that they are interested in that, which is super cool. Look at that. I feel like a auctioneer. But please let us know, and just feel free to leave some comments if you are interested, or get in touch with us. So this is kind of what this type of assessment looks like. You can see, okay, well, here are the different locations where we have it installed and how accurate it is and how it's improving over time. Because again, the accuracy is really important. In any security solution, you have to be able to trust that it's working, and that's why we're going the extra mile and helping in that way. So we've talked a lot about tailgating. You understand that people come in, you can measure it, you can do different things to make it work, especially tailored to your own solution. Now let's talk about, once you have this really cool solution of people counting and it's applied for tailgating, what else can it unlock? And here's where it gets really exciting, because let's imagine that you already have these devices installed, and here's the type of other things that you can solve. You can do things like employee mustering. So when people are in the case of an evacuation for a workplace, you need to know, where are people located? We've had actually not just employee mustering, student mustering at schools and universities. Where are people during the time of evacuation? And what that is showing you, that on the left, that's illustrating that it actually can show up on your phone. Okay, great. Here's where the people are. And of course, this is secure, and it could go to the security staff. So you could say, okay, well, here are the people in the South Wing location. And that's really important, especially in times of emergency, because let's face it, in the time of emergency, you want to know as quickly as possible, if you're a security team, where is there a large amount of people, so we can have the most impact and know where people are. The other one is around code violations. So we've seen this a lot from once you've had density install. you can see and get alerted. And I said, again, these alerts. So these are alerts that happen with the app, or they can happen through customized SMS, which I didn't mention. It's important. And you can see, okay, well, how many people are actually approaching from a fire code violation? We've had event venues. We've had, different type of interest for this. And it's all once you have the people counting devices installed. And then I think one of the most impactful, and I've been saving this for last, but the emergency response. So you also would want to know, okay, well, we have some sort of number of entrances. So maybe you have a density device and you have it on an emergency staircase or another staircase, and you want to know, is there activity? Are people entering and exiting? And you don't have an access control there. Well, you can still know, okay, it doesn't have to integrate into access control. That's just to solve tailgating, but you want to know, is there activity? Has there been any entrances and exiting? And what's really great about this is it's not only security. So once you've now solved physical security, you've done so in a way that is not very obtrusive. You've done it with these sensors that are simply above the door. Then you can go to your organization and say, hey, not only are we solving tailgating, which 4 out of 10 of our employees or people are tailgating, not only can we help with mustering in the case of emergency or preventative acts like fire code, we have this real-time data. What do you guys want to do with it? And we've had security teams actually lead the way and give this type of data to IT teams, workplace and design teams, space planning, campus planning. So once people actually have this type of physical security for tailgating, they can solve these 3 things, but they can also solve a whole wide gamut of other things, like how many people, just based on the idea of how many people are using our space. So there is a lot there, and I know I threw a lot at you. I definitely wanted to spend the majority of our time talking about tailgating because that is a growing concern and has been unsolved. But I did want to sprinkle in there at the end there some other ideas of where we've seen some real success with our large customers. So I'd love to take your questions. It looks like we already have a few. I tried to wrap up before the 20 mark, and I think I did. I spoke pretty quickly. So now we'll take some of your questions. Okay, great. Love this. With so much emphasis on data privacy, has legal approved using this tools for tracking purposes? Great question. So what we've heard is there's a few things going on. So I have said that this is not a camera. And what's really cool is that it's totally anonymous data. So whereas cameras and other types of security technologies are all based on, we want to know everything about the type of person. Well, that can be very helpful from a video perspective if you're doing surveillance and you're trying to actually do that. But if you want to solve the problems that we're solving, we've been able to scale because it's not collecting any personally identifiable information, which means it's GDPR compliant. It's very easy to get past InfoSec. And the answer is yes, because it's not infringing on privacy, we've been able to scale really across organizations. So I hope that answers your questions. The bottom line is, if you are concerned about privacy, then we're a great company to talk to because the actual technology is built from the ground up with privacy by design. Great. So we have some other questions here. So we have a question about RFIDs and if the system currently can detect that as well. So this current technology does not also look for RFID tags. It's simply based on if someone badged in and then how many people kind of tailgated after. But we have had clients who have been able to, once that actually happens in real time, they do have other sources of data that they look at, like a timestamp on a video feed where they can actually see and identify the subject in that way. So that's a great question, Yoshi, thank you. And if you do want to know if you have a specific problem that you're trying to solve, I'd love to know what's at the heart of that, because if it's around, you want to know if it's an employee or not, that's something that we have been able to solve because that's a real problem with tailgating when you have false alarms. And it's sometimes benign, employees opening the door for others. So you need to know quickly, is it happening and is it a threat or not? And so we have those workflows to be able to do that besides the RFID. Okay, so what about how do we contact you for specific access control systems? I think I mentioned this, but we're really excited about our access control systems that we integrate with. you can actually go on our website, density.io. And if you go to under the tailgating tab, or sorry, physical security tab, you'll see all the access control systems that we kind of work with, or you can just drop us a line right here and say, I'd like to know, and I'll send it to you in an email. And have you seen some of your customers have any behavioral changes with employees? So this is, again, specific to corporate real estate. I showed a little bit of a sign that said, no piggybacking. And what we've seen is that the current approach, it has been trying to change this on a behavioral level, meaning people are trying to put up signs that say, don't open the door for your coworkers. They may not be a coworker. Or, Smokey the Bear, we've seen, has now come back as Smokey the Panda to tell people to stop tailgating. Those are just very cute behavioral attempts to get people to not open the door, and it's very hard to do. So what we would rather do is work in the background in a soft security, not an intrusive technology, but still be kind of able to allow employees to do what they need to do, encourage them not to tailgate, and then actually have the technology for decreasing that. The other thing that we've been able to do is that because we have real-time SMS alerts, we can actually send an alert in real time when that happens. And so we've been able to actually send that alert so that the security guards who may be nearby, they can actually step in and actually correct the behavior, or say, hey, this employee just let in 20 people. And they actually have, in real time, they can say, that's not our policy, as opposed to these kind of ineffective different types of ways to get people to cut down. Okay, I think we are all wrapped up. Again, thank you for your time. We will be following up, and please keep a part of the conversation. We have some really cool stuff on our website that demos a lot of this. We're always willing to kind of talk through with you what might your challenges be and be a resource for you. We realize this is kind of a new frontier for thinking about all these different problems that can get overwhelming. So we're here to help. All right, thanks, and have a good rest of your day.